This is everything you need to know about handstand and hand balancing, which is one of the 5 fully dedicated elements in Powerbatics. It will be brutally hard, take years to master, but completely and utterly worth it long-term for sustainable health and strength well into your golden years. From the masters of Shaolin doing handstands with white hair to the ninjas of the Alaska mountains, these 6 positions of handstand will transform your training, and I'll show you them right here in this video. So watch to the end so you don't miss anything and end up stuck, frustrated, and injured. We created handstand as its own element because it rightly deserves its own unique pedestal for how powerful a discipline of training it is and how beneficial it is to any other area of athletics and even lifelong health. Position number 1 is something most people are familiar with, vertical hand balance, which starts in the frog position and scales up to the vertical handstand. Every move between frog stand and handstand, like knees on tops of triceps, one leg floating, the bent arm handstand, and everything else is also individual moves that are part of what we call katas that define each and every level of Powerbatics. Learning katas, which combines each of these intermediary moves, makes it such that people have no choice but to make progress even on the things they love to hate or hate to love. Progress on individual moves. Static training is the best, but also brutally difficult and the prime builder of patience. A must-have to be successful in any area of life, including your health, strength, and hand balance. Static holds can range anywhere from 10-minute wall handstands, which are actually reserved for post-beginner levels. Beginners should not be using the wall, all the way down to 60-second frog stands, which is a perfect entry point for beginners, and even all the way to 1, 2, and 3 second holds of new progressions anywhere along the path of building your handstand, from frog to one leg floating to bent arm to full handstand and even the one arm handstand. But one of the ways is to just start playing, walking around on your hands. However, most will quit because whether trying the static holds or walking around, there's a lot of room for failure. But this is precisely the place you should put yourself if you want to achieve awesome things, in a position to fail. Not get hurt, but fail. This is how everyone from Venny to Che to Clayton to Patrick are gaining handstands at all ages and all angles. Your first priority strength goal for upper body, in fact, should be gaining handstands on demand from all angles. Position number 2 is simply taking the handstand and angling downwards into the planche. A planche can be done with straight arms or bent arms, and both will achieve different benefits. The straight arm will be more difficult on the joints and connective tissue, whereas bent arm will be more difficult on the larger muscle groups. Starting with simple planks and straight arm frog stands, you can slowly progress to straddle planches and combining planches with other moves up on the bar, the rings, or mixed with power moves like an air flare to planche. Either way, it is a part of the handstand element of Powerbatics, and just like the vertical handstand, very difficult to achieve. I always share the analogy that hand balancing is like drawing realistically. Everyone thinks it's awesome to see a realistic drawing. Many artists say they want to learn to draw realistically, but when the pencil meets the paper and they see that it takes hours upon hours of tedious practice, most people just give up and quit. And this applies to both drawing and hand balance, and I speak from experience about both. They're tremendous disciplines for the body and the brain, but 90% of people give up and quit because it is well beyond the least common denominator activities that comprise most of the world. Yet anyone can build the strength and really should make it a goal and priority even before touching weights or athletics. Build the ability to control your body in any position, including on your hands. Position number 3 starts to get more technical and goes into areas that are not usually trained by any sort of mainstream fitness or athletics at all. We've adopted the Stahler press handstand into the handstand element of Powerbatics because it builds everything, even down into your legs. Typically, people's cores are so weak that they can't even hold a Stahler stand on the floor, but you can start with leg pulses for high volume. We're talking sets of 50 to 100 reps until you get accustomed to it. And remember, don't mistake videos for actual instruction. Not telling you how to train though, so do whatever you want. But seriously, don't get hurt, stuck, and frustrated not training with community and coaches. Also, remember that the Stahler is part of hundreds of other moves that are combined into katas I mentioned that force progress. These are a staple and the main way we test people to proceed to the next level in Powerbatics at Pacific Rim Athletics, both in face-to-face training as well as online. And they're also part of the competitions we host. And there's even a handstand competition coming up, plus all sorts of other events like travel and other things. So subscribe and opt in. It's absolutely free, and so you don't miss anything and get all the free trainings and information. Yet a lot of people do just want individual strength and skills, and that's okay too. Or they're trying to rehab and rebuild, and so generate custom protocols on an individual basis. One of these might be Stahler stance with one arm on the outside and one arm on the inside, or any number of positions you yourself can try in your own living room. And then eventually you want to progress to the point of lifting up to handstand and going all the way back down. Position number 3 is the V-stand. This is one of the 3 basics for foundation: press handstand, V-stand, and muscle up. So if you train with us, these are the 3 priority goals in terms of actual movement because they hit everything: pushing, pulling, and core. Legs are pretty straightforward in terms of splits and single leg squats, but they are also trained via V-stand and Stahler. You'll see if you try one, your legs will probably cramp up when just starting. Position number 4 is the crab. This is elbow support and upper body twisting mobility. One thing we always hear is how hard this and every other handstand position is on the wrists, and rightfully so if people are not not using their wrist in these ways. Their wrists become their weak links. Lift all the weights you want on a nice barbell, but if your wrists hurt and ache when you do anything else, it literally doesn't matter how much you can bench press or shoulder press because your wrists explode in any other direction. Crab simply exposes this, plus all the other positions. And it's why it's so brutal, because people don't want their weak links exposed, but they have to be in order to train and grow stronger. And there's no magic. There's slow, gradual work, doing the correct things like I'm explaining in this video, and customized coaching. Not yoga blocks, not parallettes, not rings, although we'll use those at certain points if we need to. But once you build that strength, say through 30-second static holds and then one-arm holds, then you advance to pressing all the way up to handstand. Position number 5 is flipped over, and that's the hollow back handstand. This starts with basic old bridges though, which can be connected into other moves like bridge twists and all sorts of dynacombos and katas. How do you train these? Just like the other positions. Static holds, pulses, reps of movement, sometimes play, sometimes brutal training depending on what's called for. Position number 6 actually has nothing and everything to do with handstands. The leg iron cross simply unlocks all of the positions because you gain the flexibility in your hips to be able to gain advantage leverage by pulling your body more centered towards the fulcrum as you attempt the different positions of balance like straddle handstand, straddle planche, Stahler, etc. Now, if you want help, opt in. We could have you training in the next 24 hours and making more progress than you did in the last 24 months. You can also compete and win $1,000 grand prizes and savings on your training. Our next competition is the handstand contest. It is 10 moves done in 60 seconds on the ground, floor, handstand blocks, canes, or parallettes, whichever you prefer. You don't even need to be able to do actual footless handstands because you can combine whatever intermediary moves you want. We'll have a video coming out that explains everything in more detail. But start training and use the link below to opt in to start getting involved. See you in the next video and in training soon.